The Reich occult. On September 1st, 1941, the Reich commissariats, Ukraine and Ausland, were created. The head of the former was personally appointed by A. Hitler and Erich Koch, whose governance largely determined the church policy. At one of the meetings, Koch bluntly stated about the Ukrainian people, "We liberated them not to make Ukraine happy, but to provide Germany with living space and its own food supply." Now, Ukraine has some of the most fertile, what is known as the black soil in the world. After Hitler came to power, restrictive measures were introduced against the Catholic and Lutheran churches in Germany. Concentration camps were created that specialized in the clergy. About 2,700 were held in Dasha, including about 70 Orthodox. About 5,000 Catholic priests were repressed. Hundreds of monasteries were closed. However, this did not prevent the Reich's treaty with the Vatican, July 1933, and the contacts of the Holy See with Hitler, for which the head of the Catholics in Germany, Cardinal Michael von Faulbacher, was responsible. The main content of the religious policy of the Reich consisted of the destruction of the traditional church structures, the disunity and split of confessions, so they was just taking out the dogma. There was also separate anti-religious testing ground for the future policy of total destruction of the Christian church. The party included the introduction of a religion based on German Nordic movement. Christian sacraments were rejected, as were icons and other sacred objects of worship. In the German archives, M. Skorowski discovered a plan for the creation of a religion of the Reich, prepared around 1939, designed for 25 years. The new religion was to include several components. The first, introducing the winter and summer solstice into the official calendar, which ties right into the Big Dipper, spring, summer, fall, winter, rotating, making the what they call the swastika. Now, this speaks of the Nordics. Now, we have our demonstrations with the Big Dipper connected with Pleiades, connected with Sirius. All of them have the 7 stars. But as far as the Aryan or the Orion and the Star Queens, the triple S's, the SSS, the Orion with the Syrians, which we have the reading of them seeing those that couldn't walk upright. They was on all fours. Also the Kaiser, which is backwards, the Reich, what the Shriners have at their temple, known as the Koshir or the Kaiser. That's also why they're distinct from what's known as Masonry, and they have their fezzes, and they're always sitting behind the Masonic temple. In 1935, the Reich created a special command, Sonderkommando, to counter Christianity and other non-Aryan religions. So you hear that? In regards to the modern Aryans with the Europeans, religions were interacted with the institutions of the SS. Its activities were aimed at destroying existing church structures. Now, we already went over the reading, the Order of Christ against Islam, and we know that Hitler accepted Islam. We know he had his mustache like the prophet and all that. Now, what I'm reading from is a translation from German, but it's still speaking very, very biased. So I'm not going to go any further in this manuscript, but we know now why U.S. is so connected in regards to the Ukraine. Just like when we study the Moorish Empire, like always, when Europeans take over lands and colonize, and there's 2 of them that's teaming up, they always end up fighting each other over colonized land. As far as Vladimir Putin, what I have observed, he speaks in an intelligent tone. And a lot of his history and everything, he was speaking directly from his heart. He wasn't reading from no prompter or anything. We're going to go over this image, the spiritual victory. The double left arm gathers in energy into Manupra chakra and projects it like a ray of the quote-unquote black sun, with the right arm extended. Is this not what Hitler and all his people was doing? You just thinking it was a gesture, and they was building their chakras. Has the U.S. presidents ever taught you anything about chakras? I think not, my friend. Magic salute of the warriors of Wotan and esoteric Hitlerism. Distinct flames of the key center of bodily energy, consciousness, also indicated rune chakras. You see what Hitler was getting into? He wasn't going to go into no church and be dancing around selling doves. He wanted to know thyself. So you have at the top of the head where you see the spinning seven or the spinning Big Dipper, known as the intuition flame. Next, you have the one that's coming out behind the eye, which is the pineal. You also see the navel, and below that it has a crescent, and it's known as the Heimendruss flame. When I looked that up, it came out as the morning star, and we know that the mother of creation in regards to Venus. Now, we was just talking about what is known as the Aryan or the Araya. Russia's military bases in Syria. Russia claims to have deployed tens of thousands of troops to Syria. So in regards to the Syrians with the Reich, and then you have Vladimir Putin in connection with the Syrians, topple Assad who flees to Russia in Midwest shakeup, Russia intervention in the Syrian civil war, 2015, Syria's Assad is in Moscow after deal on military bases. Syria's former president, Bashar al-Assad, is in Moscow with his family after Russia granted them asylum on humanitarian grounds. I wanted to go look up the warriors of Wotan. Wotan was the all-father god of the Germanic cultures. He is best known as Odin, which is just another alias of Anu. We have a demonstration, mysterious cave temples of Africa, Zobir Ali, slave king of the Kernal, and it speaks of the pale-skinned, blue-eyed beings in the caves. Zabir was one of the most extraordinary and interesting figures belonging to the tribe Jalin and belonging to the tribe of a family claiming descent from Abbas, the uncle of the prophet, which was an Ali, a man of education which he obtained, it is said, in the missionary schools of Cairo. So he was an Egyptian adept. He combined the Western knowledge which he had thus acquired with great devotion to Islam. From 1860 to 1876, he was the principal source of supply to the slave trade because he was selling off the troglodyte slaves from the African produce to Tripoli. Stories of purely native origin insist that there are in the mountain fastness of equatorial Africans of white-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed men and women entirely cut off since time immemorial from any contact with the outer world. And that's who Hitler was looking for indeed. He's following the same thing I was in regards to the Celtic troglodytes and the Moorish Magi. And as you see, Noble Drew Ali is sitting just like Zabir Ali, who was the head over the Celtic troglodytes. These are either Anu, Anunnaki, or connected somehow or another, but they're to help the Yesu, help them draw the circles around their passion indeed. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali left the responsibility up to the Moors, the Moorish Magi in these days and times. I also have this demonstration proving that Hitler was meeting with Moorish Magi mother scientists. Hitler's voodoo dolls, Death League, spiritual war, astrology. It's a known fact that they were selling thousands and thousands and thousands of voodoo dolls depicting Hitler, and they were sticking them with pins and needles. But they say he was on dope because he was shaking and twitching. No. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people were sticking these voodoo dolls, sticking these voodoo dolls, sticking these voodoo dolls. This may be my last demonstration, for I was awakened by a dream. The temple symbolizes the scholar, the master around whom disciples gather to attain perfection. Do good to others and recall and mention Allah. My dream was my temple was 40 to 50 feet in the air, and it was stuck, and the wind was rocking it back and forth, and it fell forward into being demolished. A temple having been demolished in a dream means a religious person will die in that area, and if I do so, may I sail on smoother plains. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. I leave you in peace and love. Sticking these voodoo dolls.